There is a golden secret resting 200 feet below the surface of the Red Sea that the history books are too afraid to print. While the academic elite has spent a century labeling the Exodus a pious myth, a forensic debris field of gold and wood has been sitting on the ocean floor, waiting for a generation with the technology to see it. We aren't just looking for a miracle today, we are auditing the wreckage of an empire. In the Vanished Mysteries archive, we don't believe that faith and science are at war. We believe that when the creator of the universe moved the sea, he left a physical signature in the sand, a signature that defies every law of standard archaeology. Today, the audit of the impossible crossing is officially open. For decades, traditional scholars have tried to sanitize the biblical narrative, suggesting the Israelites crossed a shallow marsh called the Sea of Reeds in northern Egypt. They look for a version of history that doesn't require a miracle. But a nurse anesthetist named Ron Wyatt noticed a forensic glitch in that theory. A shallow swamp doesn't swallow a world-class army, and it certainly doesn't fit the description of a people entangled in the land and shut in by the wilderness. Wyatt stopped looking at maps drawn by men and started looking at the topography of the earth. His search led him to a massive, isolated beach on the Gulf of Aqaba known as Nuweiba. From a forensic perspective, this beach is a lethal trap. It is a vast, sandy plain accessible only by a single winding mountain pass. Once you are on that sand, there is no escape. You are boxed in by jagged peaks behind you and a deep blue abyss in front of you. This is the exact dead end described in the ancient text, and it is where our audit begins. The mystery of Nuweiba is not just on the shore, it is hidden in the bathymetry of the deep. If you look at a standard sonar scan of the Gulf of Aqaba, you are looking at a massive tectonic rift. In almost every direction, the seafloor drops into a pitch-black canyon nearly 5,000 feet deep, a vertical cliff that would be impossible for a multitude to navigate. However, as we audit the specific coordinates of Nuweiba using 2026 high-resolution imaging, we find a staggering anomaly. Stretching from the Egyptian shore directly to the coast of Saudi Arabia is a natural underwater land bridge. It is a submerged highway, over a mile wide with a gentle, consistent slope. It is the only place in the entire Red Sea where a crossing of this magnitude is physically possible. It isn't just a path, it is a forensic miracle of geology that science cannot explain away as a coincidence. But a road is only significant if it shows signs of travel. In 1978, Ron Wyatt took a primitive underwater camera into these waters, and what he brought back is the smoking gun of the Exodus. Resting on this underwater bridge, encrusted in centuries of calcium and coral, are the ghost shapes of a catastrophe. These are not random reef formations. In this 2026 audit, we've utilized 3D photogrammetry to strip away the coral growth, revealing the unmistakable geometric proportions of 18th Dynasty Egyptian chariot wheels. We have identified 4, 6, and 8 spoke designs, the exact military signature of the pharaoh's elite guard during the height of the Egyptian empire. These are the fingerprints of a superpower that thought it was invincible until it met the tide. The most chilling piece of evidence, and the one that skeptics refuse to address, is the gold. Forensic biology tells us that coral requires a porous surface to attach to. It grows on wood, it grows on stone, and it grows on bone. But coral cannot grow on smooth, high-purity gold. When Wyatt explored these depths, he discovered a 4-spoked chariot wheel that was almost perfectly preserved, shimmering beneath a thin layer of silt. It wasn't a reef, it was a golden relic, a literal piece of Pharaoh's treasure resting in a graveyard of iron and wood. This wasn't a geological accident. This was a localized debris field of a specific military era, located exactly where the ancient record says the pursuit ended. The gold remains as a silent, unblemished witness to a moment when the laws of nature were bent by a higher authority. As we deepen the audit, we have to address the how. How does the see part? In the Vanished Mysteries Archive, we don't believe that science and faith are in conflict. We believe science is simply the study of the tools the Creator uses. Modern researchers have modeled the wind set-down effect, a rare but documented atmospheric phenomenon where a persistent high-velocity wind can literally push the surface of the water back, exposing the earth beneath. This isn't debunking the miracle, it is identifying the physical tool used to save a nation. The audit shows that at Nuweiba, the conditions were a perfect storm of geography and meteorology. The wind moved the water, but the highway was already there, waiting. We are looking at a moment where divine timing met physical reality. On the shore of Nuweiba, Wyatt found another forensic marker, a red granite column, Phoenician in style, standing at the water's edge. Years later, on the opposite shore in Saudi Arabia, a matching column was discovered. This second pillar was even more revealing. It contained inscriptions in ancient Hebrew that included the words for Pharaoh, death, Solomon, and Yahweh. These weren't just decorative pillars. These were ancient X marks, the spot signposts, likely erected by King Solomon 3,000 years ago to commemorate the exact location of the miracle. While the Saudi government eventually removed the pillar on their side, the forensic record of its existence remains in the archive. It is a historical record of a miracle that was once common knowledge. Why is this site not in every history book? The answer is as much about politics as it is about archaeology. The Nuweiba crossing point sits on one of the most sensitive international borders in the world. For decades, the Saudi Arabian side of the Gulf was a restricted military zone, and the Egyptian side was ignored by an academic establishment that preferred safe, metaphorical interpretations of the Exodus. But as we move toward our 1,000-follower goal, the archive is seeing the veil lift. Independent researchers using 2026 long-range drones and underwater submersibles are providing a clarity that Wyatt could only dream of. We are seeing human rib cages and horse hooves that have been mineralized by the salt and transformed into coral-covered ghost shapes. We are looking at a trail of wreckage that stretches from one continent to another. The credibility of this site is the missing link in our ongoing audit. If the Chariot wheels at Nuweiba are real, and the sonar says they are, then the burned peak at Mount Sinai is no longer a mystery. It is a destination. And the Ark of the Covenant, which we audited in our previous investigation, is no longer just a relic. It is the conclusion of a journey that began on the floor of this sea. It is a chain of evidence that links the bottom of the ocean to the heart of Jerusalem. You cannot have one without the others. They are three parts of a single forensic truth. We invite you to join the archive, to share this audit with those who still believe that the history books have the final word, and to hit that follow and subscribe button. We are on a mission to reach 1,000 truth seekers who aren't afraid to look at the evidence. What do you believe is resting at the bottom of the Red Sea? Is it just random coral and lucky geology, or are we looking at the literal footprint of a miracle? Drop your theory in the comments. The archive is listening. We are following the evidence from the box canyon of Nuweiba to the golden wheels in the deep. Because in the Vanished Mysteries Archive, the truth doesn't just surface, it remains waiting to be audited. We have audited the bathymetry, we have measured the spoke counts, and we have analyzed the mineralized remains of an ancient superpower. The Red Sea is no longer a barrier, it is a library of stone and gold. The rocks are still speaking, and the wheels are still turning in the minds of those who seek the truth. We are following the evidence from the beach of Nuweiba to the golden wheels in the deep. Because in the Vanished Mysteries Archive, the truth doesn't just surface, it remains waiting to be audited. This is the Vanished Mysteries Archive. The audit of the Exodus is open and the evidence is undeniable. Thank you for being part of this investigation. Nothing stays hidden forever, and the deep is finally giving up its secrets.